Okay, I'd like to call the meeting, planning board meeting to order. We have before us 4 agenda items, and first order of business though will be for the board to review the meeting minutes of June 1st. So if you give us a moment, everyone has had a chance to review those minutes. Make a motion to accept the minutes into the record.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 1st.
Okay, have a motion. All in favor?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, second. Peter, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 scheduled matters before the board this evening. The first matter will be Zurich Corporation presenting an application to demolish Building 305, which is the old barn located on the east side of Phillips Road between Mitchell Bean Drive and Abena Drive. This is a carryover from last month. We could not take any action pursuant to, we did not have any formal response from the Historic Preservation Committee, as is required for the demolition of any buildings or prior to the demolition of any building within the village limits. And from what I understand, we still technically do not have anything in writing from the Historical Preservation Committee, but I understand that, Will, you have received an email of sorts which basically stated that the barn is of no historical significance, and the Historical Preservation Committee takes no exception to the demolition of the barn. So, therefore, first order of business will be to receive a motion from the board to list this as an unlisted action regarding seeker. And if somebody would make that motion as an unlisted action regarding seeker.
I'll make the motion.
And if anyone would second.
Second.
Second by Kathy. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Next motion that would be necessary for the demolition of the barn would be to actually make a motion for the issuance of a demolition permit. Yes, what?
Point of order. With an unlisted action, you have to declare whether it's a positive or negative declaration for any kind of environmental impact.
So we need to make a positive or negative recommendation regarding the unlisted action for seeker. Negative recommendation meaning
Negative declaration means there's no environmental.
no environmental, no further action required.
How do we know that?
That-
How do we know that?
Because that is the demolition of the barn is defined in the seeker.
They did submit an environmental assessment.
It did?
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't see it. Okay,
That was part of the package last month.
okay.
So would you like to amend your motion?
I'll amend it to be positive.
No,
No,
negative
negative.
recommendation.
Positive bad.
Positive, bad, negative, good.
So the motion is amended to be a negative recommendation regarding an unlisted seeker action. And do you still second that? Did anyone say?
I'll second it.
All right. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then the secondary motion would be to the actual positive or negative recommendation for the issuance of a demolition permit.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made for a positive recommendation for issuance of a demolition permit. Second?
Second?
Second by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Vote is unanimous, motion carries. You can apply for your demolition permit.
All right, thank you, sir, appreciate it. Anything else for me?
Nope, you are
All
all
right.
set.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Okay, second order of business before the board this evening, we have Lisa McCarthy of 36 Fuller Avenue. The applicant seeks to build an open front porch approximately 10 foot by 16 foot. Applicant seeks relief from current zoning regarding front setback, which is typically minimum 30 feet, and the addition of a 10-foot deep front porch would therefore require a 10-foot setback variance. So, you are the applicant?
Yes, I am.
If you would step up and give us a little background of what you're hoping, wishing, desiring to do.
Well, I was hoping to add that front porch to my existing structure of my house. There's a picture of the one that's across the street, my neighbor's house, so I'm using that as the replica of the model that I'm hoping to have built there. Living on Fuller Ave, there's wonderful neighbors, and I'm in my backyard, and I want to be in my front yard to enjoy the porch and my neighbors. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
Okay. Has everyone on the board had a chance to look through the pictures? Has anyone had a chance to drive up or down Fuller, see the character of the house? And this particular house, I live right on Park Ave, so I'm right on the other side of the street, so I know this area very well. If this is in fact, in essence, what you're trying to achieve.
Pretty much exactly.
I understand. It's nice having it up there. So, if the board members have any questions that they'd like to pose?
Well, I live on Curtis, I pass your house every day, at least 3 times. And I think this picture, what they did to their front porch was adorable, and I think your house would be adorable with it too. So, I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Okay. Anyone else? All good?
I was just curious, where are you gonna place this?
It's going to be exactly in the center of the house, so it incorporates the bay window and the front door as well. So it'll be wide enough to cover both.
And is the front porch going to, is it extending all the way across to the driveway? You gonna have
No, it's going to be, find the exact center of the house and go 5 feet each way. I'm sorry, 8 feet each way.
Okay.
So it covers the front door and the little bay window in front as well.
Do you have any steps up to the front porch at all?
There will be a set of steps coming off if you're looking at the house, the left side, so it leads to the driveway.
Towards the driveway?
Yes.
Okay. And I see that you sent, there is an affidavit included of the mailing for all the neighbors within the vicinity. There's none presented, other than I did get an email from one of your neighbors who was highly in favor, so. I haven't received any negative reports. So if the board has no further questions, I would open it for public comment, if anyone has any commenting, yay, nay. Okay.
Yeah, give us an invite.
Can we come over? Can we come over? Okay. With a margarita.
Okay, so no public comment, we'll close the public comment, bring it back to the board. So what we need to do in order for these fine people to proceed with their project, the first order of business would be a motion, and this would be listed as a type 2 seeker, meaning no significant environmental impacts. and we would need a negative declaration. No, this is,
You don't need to use that.
sorry?
All you need to do is.
Oh, just declare type 2 seeker?
Oh, wait, this goes to the zoning board. They have to do that.
They make the final decision on this.
So we don't have anything to do with secret. They do it. Oh, okay, even better.
Positive or negative rec- give it to the vote for vote, right? Well, recommendation of variance.
We have no need for a motion for secret?
Not
That
for
goes to
secret.
fair zoning? Okay,
That's the-
fine, forget about that part. So the only thing in front of us then would be a positive or negative recommendation to the zoning board for a 10-foot setback variance. Minimum is 30, the 10-foot extends off the house, so that's 20 feet of setback, and the minimum would be 30. So our recommendation, yea or nay, is to the zoning board for a 10-foot variance. Obviously, we're seeking a positive recommendation to the zoning board for a variance. Anyone would like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion if you talk me through what I'm supposed to say.
Okay. Positive recommendation to the zoning board of appeals for a 10-foot setback, front setback variance.
I'll make the motion for a positive recommendation for
Zoning board.
to the zoning board,
For a 10-foot setback.
10-foot setback variance.
I'll second it.
All, do I have a second?
I just had, I was like,
Up, Judy, second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you.
next up, zoning board of appeals. They give you the,
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay. Okay. Next order of business in front of the board. I was debating whether or not I wanted to switch up the order, but I think Brittany Woods Townhouse Development might be less problematic, potentially than the fourth item. So we'll just go with the typed up order for the agenda this evening. We have third order of business, Brittany Woods Townhomes is seeking final site plan approval for the development at Ridge and Phillips Road, regarding development of 14 buildings on 13.4 acres for residential townhome style development. Mr. Buckholz, if you would give us the Cliff Notes version
Okay,
and any modifications or changes you made.
okay. There's not a lot different from the last time I was here. We did add some landscaping in here. I'll tell you, there's 100 foot of wood from the back of these houses to the property line, so they already have a pretty good buffer. But we're going to put in some evergreens in here. We met out in the field. We didn't really, I think the consensus was from Will and Jake and myself, and Jake's guy, was it didn't make a lot of sense to provide screening. Sorry, I'm a little goofed up here. This is where we're adding them, okay? It didn't make much sense to put screening in here. This is all very heavily wooded with wetlands and stuff in here, in this area here. We did make a change, a request that Jake had. He asked if we could modify the parking here instead of 90 degree, if we could make it parallel. Didn't see a problem with that. It keeps us off his storm sewer. I don't think it's a problem on the storm sewer, but it's his storm sewer, so this keeps us off that. We only lost one guest parking space doing it. There really isn't much else. We detailed a little bit more of the grading, but there really isn't that much else that's different from before. I think the issues that we had to do with most of the town, and that we're providing this screening here to reflect that. We also had previously provided screening in here. This dark green is existing woods that will remain. the light green is lawn that is or will be there. And these little dark things here are trees that are planted. So those are the things that we did. Not much different from before, based on the input that we received from Jake and Will.
Okay. All right. I hope any members of the board have had their opportunity to review the site plans as submitted, other than the change in the parking area, which I don't believe is reflected in those final drawings.
No, but it's a condition we would be happy to comply with.
Right. So if anyone has any additional questions. Peter?
No. Basically, like the last meeting, what you were talking about.
Right. Kathy? Janine? Judy? Any last questions?
We talked about last time, putting bushes possibly where the stream is to block the neighbor, so the neighbor wouldn't have to see the back of it. Did you look into that? at all?
Well, the stream is only on our site from here to here,
Mhm,
and we're not changing that.
mhm.
The rest of the stream goes through these lots here. Incidentally, we went out there and we found that a little bit downstream of where this village storm sewer comes out, somebody's put in, I think, a 42 or 48-inch culvert on that stream, which probably backs up flow. Nothing to do with us, but that's something that people there might want to think about replacing if they're worried about ponding and flooding on that stream.
So that actually, the stream goes through all the
It comes out
adjoining
of a
properties?
Yes.
It comes out of a head wall here, and it continues like this, right down here, and eventually it goes under Ridge Road. I mean,
And that's through the adjacent property, the backyards.
we don't have any access to it down here, that's not our property.
That's what I was wondering.
And we're not changing, from here up, we're really keeping it as it is, just be maintained as lawn.
So the light green area up on Phillips and Ridge, behind the dark green area, basically that whole dogwood, that's your property. It'll be maintained as it should be. Not worried about that.
The idea is to keep it the way it is now. There are some trees, I don't think I've seen that will stay there too. We're not gonna do any earthwork or grading or stripping or anything up there.
I remember the other question we had. When is the landscaping going in what phase?
The landscaping goes in each phase. There are 3 phases. It goes in each phase toward the end of the phase. We don't want to put it in until all the grading's in, and all the paving is in, and the utilities are in, and the buildings are up.
Okay, so what's going in phase 1?
Phase 1 is essentially this here, and phase 2 is this, and phase 3 is this. And in your plans, there is a erosion control and phasing plan that shows the delineation of each of those. You know, they're called phases, but really they're just units that'll be built. I think the idea is to continue, isn't it, Mark? You're just going to continue along, but we have it set up so that each thing is pretty much self-sufficient to the extent that when this is built, it will serve that. We're not going to build this first.
But in order to build the sedimentation pond and the retention pond, that all would have to be, and the storm system, by and large, would have to be, in essence. Are you doing all the underground utilities?
Yeah, that all gets done first.
Right.
Well,
And we also do,
Everything?
everything gets done first, all that underground stuff gets done right away.
Yeah.
The roads get paved, all that stuff.
Well, I think we're definitely going to do this first, okay? And the basin here. The way we do it is we don't actually excavate the infiltration basin all the way to the bottom until everything's in and stabilized. And we have this as a buffer too, a permanent buffer. But after this is in, then you'll go in and you'll do your roads and stuff in phase 2. You may choose to do your utilities for phase 2 in the beginning, but there's no need to do that.
But we
It'll
will.
depend on earthwork too.
And we also landscape as we do the buildings, by building by building. As soon as they're done, we landscape them right away.
Are you going to be renting them as the phases get done?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, would CLOs be contingent on landscaping installations, and by and large?
Yeah, well, basically what happens is, as the phase nears its end, so CLO, 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 as the phase nears its end, you're gonna want all the plantings done, or at least all the plantings done before the entire site is completed.
Mhm.
But according to Mr. Dennis, the planting's gonna go per phase, I believe.
No, we do the plantings as we go, but in the wintertime, we're gonna want CFOs, and we're not gonna be able to do plantings, obviously.
Yeah.
But we do as much as we possibly can, as fast as we can.
So, and you don't
So, you
want
know.
planting in the middle of summer, so, which we ran into before with other, but, yeah, so basically, before the final CFOs are issued, we walk through the site to make sure all the plantings are in, so.
Okay, very good. Okay, and I just wanted to note that, David, I see you sitting in the back there. We did make inquiries with Jake Swingley regarding buffering or shielding to your properties adjacent. Because of the 48-inch storm sewer passing through there, Jake was not a proponent of berming or plantings on the storm line and stuff. So in essence, but turning the parking parallel with the road should diminish, headlight infiltration for any future plans you might have. So we did make the inquiries. I just wanted to let you know that we did, in fact, follow through with that.
Appreciate it.
So, they have done, the developer has been very responsive to our requests for any remediation measures that were feasible and worthwhile to take, so.
Did anybody know where the pipe comes out?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we went out and
We
walked
walked
at it and found it. It's where I thought it was. Comes out in the stream. It's heavily covered with brush,
Mhm.
but it's there. There's a red bridge over lot, I don't remember the number, one of the lots here, and it's about 50 feet to the east of that. You go past that hill and look up and see where the pipe comes out.
Mhm.
And we had to have a blood transfusion when we left the woods.
You eating alive up there? Okay.
And poison ivy too. Crazy.
No ticks.
I don't know. If you don't hear from me in a week.
Okay, so, unless anyone else from the board has any questions, issues, or concerns? Okay, the only thing, I went through and I looked through your utility plans and stuff, and I would not want to be your site guy when he tries to get utilities into phase 3 past that 48-inch storm line. It's, we're gonna have some collisions there, but,
No, we aren't. Actually, we raised the road there so that we could get the utilities
well,
over.
I looked at your grade elevations and doing the math, I see the water is gonna be, it'll be challenging.
The
I'm
water-
sure somebody will figure it out.
Yeah, the water may even go under there.
Yeah, I think it
It
has.
has
to.
the water,
They're gonna
which is
try.
fine.
Yeah, I would be more concerned with sanitary, but smarter people than I will figure it out. They'll get into there. So, okay, if there are no other questions, issues, or concerns from the board, you guys are obviously in receipt of all the feedback from the Monroe County Department of Planning and Development.
Yes, and I wrote a letter in response that you've received where I responded to each of those issues. There are things that we still have to do. After we have to get the county DOT approval, the health department approval, the water authority approval. We made applications to some of those people already.
Right.
We're continuing with that and with the hope that we get our approval from you. We have to do that. We have to do our stormwater pollution prevention plan, which I started, but haven't finished yet.
Mhm. So we were looking for a final site plan or a positive motion for final site plan approval this evening, and then you can pursue all the other agency signatures, and then when that's all taken care of, are we the last person to sign once everyone else is going through all their fine tuning?
In between, yeah.
I might add that we're also doing an administrative re-subdivision. Those are 2 lots into one.
Right.
So,
All right, well, I must commend you guys. I think you've been extremely patient. You've been receptive to all commentary. I know we try to make this project the best project it can be for the village of Webster. I know your reputation, and going forward, I see this as a very positive addition to the village of Webster, and I commend you for taking on the challenge. So, with that stated, if anyone would care to make a positive recommendation for final site plan approval for the Brittany Woods subdivision, there is no public comment. This project has been talked to death. So, if anyone would like to make a recommendation for a positive recommendation for final site plan approval, and a second.
I'll make a positive recommendation
For final site plan?
for, yeah, I'm just looking at, for final site plan, development of Brittany Woods Town.
I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Gentlemen?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next order of business, we have the Duarte family back again, representing Maria's Mexican Restaurant. And they would like to, they are petitioning for a change of use of existing building, 10,000 square foot building.
Are we done? Keep it. Make it easy for us.
Yes, good evening.
So, from last month, we asked you to go home and do some homework regarding the parking situation. And you are here again, so you must have something new for us.
Well, the task set for me was to get a parking.
I'm sorry, you are, sir, your name?
I am Duke Silver. So I am here on behalf of the Duartes. I'm that girl's hero. I also gave her a 3-part engagement ring. She'll tell you about the restaurant sometime. Maybe see her next. Okay? I'm also her partner in the venture to purchase 34 May Street. So we have an offer in there right now. It's contingent on board approval for change of use. So you've set us the task to get a parking space in order to accommodate a 140-seat restaurant. So I've done that for the most part. I have a lease that they are reviewing. They've also given me a signed letter of intent to state that it's in both of our interests to have this. Okay, it's just the lawyers are going through the minutia of detail. So I had this from Ron Little at Heritage Christian.
That's what I was going to ask you, who's it from?
Well, Ron Little, he is from Heritage Christian Services. So he's the one that's going to be in charge of this.
That's the next side of it?
Yes, that's correct. So if there were, I was kind of thought maybe there'd be some residents here tonight. I was going to, offer some considerations for, especially when it comes to traffic, because I understand that. And that the access road, actually I should show you some pictures of that too, that access road is part of that parking lot. And we will have use of that. And that is actually, at the end of it, is where Tyler's Workshop has their sign, right at North Avenue. So, kind of forgot those pictures right here. I mean, the other thing I was going to offer the residents, it's kind of a complementary traffic pattern.
There is a resident here in the front row.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay. Okay.
Here I am.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So I wish I could have those pictures somewhere where it's displayed.
I know it well, I know the area well,
Okay.
so you don't
All right.
have to
Very good.
be concerned.
Okay, so and that access road is pretty, it's 2-lane road. So it needs a little help getting some trees cut away from it, but it's definitely, that's a good alternative to using May Street. And then for the restaurant, you know, they are not part of the morning rush whatsoever. Gloria gets there at 9:30 in the morning, that's one car. She's lucky if there's two other cars, that means they're on time. So, and then deliveries, she only gets once a week. She gets vegetables, she gets meat, and beer. The liquor's once a month, and the aprons come every 2 weeks, aprons and rugs. So her traffic really starts about 11 a.m. And for lunch, right now they average 30 cars at the moment. On projections might be a little different, but and then the dinner rush, they come at 5:30 to 7. Cars come in, they get off North Avenue. They don't leave until between 7 and 8:30. So it's a complementary traffic pattern I would propose. And we can also have that sign, that's what this picture shows. We can have, Maria's just trying to get it within code right there, a sign on, right on North Avenue by the Toddler's Workshop sign. Can I pass this?
Do you know who maintains that side road?
That is Heritage Christian, and also the Precision has access to it. And the salon, I think that's right there, and there's one other business.
Technically,
Is that not right?
well, sort of, kind of. Technically, the owners of the 9 acres behind are the ones that are supposed to be maintaining that roadway strip.
Is it really? Who's that?
Yeah, actually, the gentleman from Heritage Christian stopped in about a month or two ago to go over this with me, to talk to me about it, and I read the easement that is with the property. And within the easement itself, it says that the use of that roadway is contingent, because they have to have access to the 9 acres in the back, therefore they are technically responsible for that roadway.
Really?
Yeah. There you go.
And if it isn't currently maintained and paved and
Not necessarily.
Half and half.
Yeah.
But Heritage pays to have the snow removal right there on that access road? Okay.
Is it considered a private road or?
I don't even think it's considered a road at all. It's just an access, ingress, egress access.
Somebody said it was Railroad Street Extension.
A long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, it was the road that ran along the railroad tracks.
So it's not,
It's not,
It's not a road.
It's not a street.
No, it's not a dedicated road or anything like that. It's just a private ingress, egress for those businesses and anybody who uses it as part of that.
yeah.
So would Maria's need to be added into the easement agreement usage for that road?
That or lease agreement, whatever it may be.
Or because Heritage already has an easement and Heritage would be issuing a lease, a parking lease?
That would be the verbiage, whatever verbiage they come up with,
Yes.
the lease agreement would be.
We have use of that access road.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's in the agreement?
That's part of our agreement. Part of the lease that they're going through it. I did give a copy to the lawyer here. Were you able to look at that?
The lease?
Yeah.
Yes.
You have any questions?
No, I have some concerns that I want to address to the board. In order to give a parking waiver, you have to find 4 sets of facts. There has to be insufficient parking available on the lot, which clearly you have.
True.
Skipping over the second to the third, you have to find that there is off-site parking available within 500 feet, which this would give you. And number 4, it gives you the ability to impose other reasonable restrictions as may be prescribed, as you guys may come up with. Number two, the second thing that you have to find in order to grant a parking waiver is that the required spaces, the off-site spaces, are provided on a permanent and accessible manner. Accessibility is not a problem with the layout. I'm concerned about the permanency of this. The lease that they've offered is got a 5-year term with, I think, 3 5-year renewals.
Five-year renewable options.
And
Contingent
monthly
on-
payments.
Right.
And then there are some technical things, it's subordinate to a mortgage, so theoretically, if Heritage had a mortgage that was foreclosed on, you could lose the parking, but the lease term, if they're buying the building, that goes on theoretically forever, for as long as you own the building, which could be 2 years, 100 years.
Esperanza Realty's buying the building. Maria's is leasing space.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Esperanza Realty
Oh,
is buying the
Esperanza.
building.
Okay.
That'd be Gloria and myself. And
Gotcha.
Maria's is leasing.
Okay, all right. But in any event, this,
It is,
you know, that's,
It's,
20 years is not permanent.
right, it's still.
5 years is not permanent.
Right.
And if they miss a rent payment, it does call for monthly rent. If rent payment is missed, they could lose the parking in an eviction proceeding.
Sure. Right.
So,
And what happens if they sell off? Heritage Christian sells off.
oh, that's not a
follows with the
concern.
new-
Yeah,
They would still
yeah.
have-
If you have a lease, it travels
It'll
with
travel
with the property.
Okay.
But then we still have the issue of the restaurant would only be using part of the 10,000 square foot building, right?
yeah.
In essence, half, for argument's
Yeah.
sake. So the other half of the building would then be still used as some other function, perhaps. Where do you account for the parking for that?
We got 50 spaces, enough for 50 spaces from Heritage, and we can get 30 spaces out of 34 May Street. I would also wonder about time of use, because a restaurant, you need it in the evening. During the day, it's business, you know, it's like the restaurant doesn't need much space during the day.
Actually, I think the timing is irrelevant. The code specifically states number of units for the square footage of a restaurant, regardless if you have 0 patrons or the place is full. You would need to provide that number of spaces at all times, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the parking requirements are the parking requirements. Now, there are 2 ways that this could happen in theory. One is with a parking waiver, which is solely within the province of this board.
Right.
The other one would be to apply for a variance from the parking regulations, which would be a normal variance application. It would be decided by the zoning board of appeals with recommendation from one way or another from this board. Dateline, Webster, New York. You know, because I have a real concern about the permanency of a lease.
Right, see, I think we've circled right back to where we started, is the
Wow.
issue of parking relative to the size of the building, the use, the proposed reuse of the building. And
Well, we needed 70
before
spots.
tests for even a waiver of parking. I mean, clearly, we're not gonna get around all 4 of those items. So, how conducive might it be for you to purchase land from Heritage Christian?
we would consider that after a time, you know, and I'm sure they would consider selling it. Although, you know, I can't be certain about it, but I can tell you we're not gonna miss a payment. You know, having been around for 37 years, I don't think she's gonna lose a single customer. So, then when it just comes to use of the building, you know, there's been 4 people in there for 4 years. We're gonna stay. I've had an office in there for 17 years myself. You know, and I've seen, you know, 2 businesses come and go, including our own, and 1 leave. So it's been for sale for 4 years. And, you know, I think, here we go. You know, there's 4 people in there for 4 years. We're gonna stay. You know, if Gloria and I buy the building, it's like, we're not gonna lease out any more than we have to. So she's gonna take some office space in there too for herself. The only other thing that we were thinking of is a little tortilla business. So that would be down the road a little bit.
As a secondary business within
Yeah.
the structure.
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't take too many people to do that.
Right.
I do it myself on Saturday. At the moment.
Okay. Anything else?
Gosh, I hope not. No.
Okay.
Looking back to, or remember last time we talked, I think it was Maria was mentioning hours of operation. The paperwork lists another set of hours of operation. Is anything set in stone as that way?
No, especially when it comes to Cantina, you know, she runs the restaurant for 5 out of 7 days, and that's enough. She works very hard. So, she doesn't really need to open the restaurant any more than that. You know, if you had a cantina, there it is. People could have a light menu, you know, for a limited time, you know, whatever, 3 to 11 on weekends, or something like that. It's just, there's just an idea at the moment. You know, having someone in there and working that is another issue.
Anything else?
So no, the restaurant though, the restaurant hours are pretty much gonna be the same they have now. She's open for lunch from Tuesday to Friday and dinner from Tuesday to Saturday, closed Sunday, Monday.
Anything else? Comments? Questions?
Are you saying that it's conceivable that you could change your mind in 2 or 3 months and say, a cantina idea of mine might fly?
Yeah.
Which changes the hours from Kathy's conversation
Yes.
to a different
Yes, that's
conversation.
conceivable. Yes, it is conceivable. There could be a Saturday, Sunday, Monday hour. 3 to 11. Let's throw out there.
Not Monday.
Not Monday, not Monday, apparently.
Maybe Saturday.
Anything else from the board?
Would that be a separate matter then for the board as well?
Most likely, yes.
Okay.
As a tertiary concern. So if no one else has any additional questions or comments, I'm going to open this up for public input here, because I know this is going to be a struggle. So, thank you, and I would like to open it up to the public and hear whatever commentary any concerned citizens would like to express. Please stand up, state your name, tell us who you are, where you are, and what you think.
My name is Kathy Williams. I live in the apartment building on the corner of May and North Ave. Have been there for 9 years. I'm thrilled with getting some of the riffraff and garbage out of there on North Ave and actually making it look nice. The beautiful condos that are going in across the street marks a break and alignment that's across the street. The people are out of the house over there. So I've seen so many changes. I think that Maria's going over on May Street would be such a beautiful thing to do, a positive change. I have to tell you that I know Gloria for her coming into Wegmans. I work at Wegmans. Judy knows me, Joe, Will. So I'm tied to the community. This is my first time ever, by the way, at any kind of government thing. So anyway, I think it would be great because you have so many people that have moved into the area. You have all of the condos and rentals down the other end. You have the apartments. You have these new condos. Look at what the pub's doing. The pub is busy all the time. They're doing a great business there. I think, Maria, it's a quiet restaurant. It is definitely not the biker bar that was down Kittleberger for years that I used to have. Yo, you remember? I used to have to deal with the motorcyclists all times and then night and day. So it's going to be quiet. She has good food. She's reliable, as they mentioned, in the city for a while and out here for forever. I think it's a great idea to keep it in the tax base. Don't make her move out of Webster. The building is falling down over there. It's in horrible condition. And she just needs a different venue. So I am totally in favor. I got the letter in the mail. I also spoke with Carl Lauer, who was recently elected to the village board. And Carl said, go to this. The planning board's where you need to make this known. So I don't know why some people have been averse to having this happen, but I think it would be a very positive step, and I believe they would be reliable neighbors. Muchísimas gracias, señora.
Gracias a usted.
Thank you.
So Duke, based on Ms. Williams' observation, should I come over there and inspect just a little closer than I have?
Okay. By the way, the building has been, like he said, it's like a ghost building where they want to go now. Because you would see lights on at night and no movement. It would be like, okay, what's going on? Somebody's cleaning the building, but nobody's there. And it has been for sale forever. So why have that vacant building sitting there doing nothing? I'm sure the village is collecting some sort of tax, but why not make it a nice spot?
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I'm with her.
If I see any money changing hands in Anybody else? And nothing else from the citizenry? Okay, I know people. Yes, sir. You are?
I'm Jaime Sanchez, 115 Jewelberry Drive. So I just want to comment on the Duartes and also Duke and the folks here. I think they run a phenomenal kind of restaurant and great food. I think if you look at the history of Rochester, again, I've only been here since '97, traveling, and in terms of the Mexican kind of restaurant, in and across the region, I think she's kind of way up there. If you looked at the recent census reports, I think you'll know that from 2010 to 2016, there was 2,100 people or new residents coming into Webster, right? And so you can see the continued population growth in terms of the apartments. You can see the population growth in terms of the second, the folks that are building $1 apartments there. So you can start to see a lot of flourishing aspects of coming into this town. So when you buy, even though I'm in Penfield, I'm Webster School District, so when you buy as a resident homes, you're looking for your ambience, you're looking for things to do. The governor just approved Uber, for example. So on the parking side, I can tell you right now, when I go out, right, my wife and I go out, let's say, and if we want to go to a restaurant, I may not drive, right? I may just be using Uber, for example, right? And so there's that consideration to come into play as well when you look at, whether it's North Ave and all the apartments, that's most of that will be great opportunity for Maria in terms of people just literally walking over, as opposed to just kind of parking, right? So that area right there, already has a lot of traffic in terms of drop-off and, both in terms of the Heritage Christian Center, there's constant traffic flow going through Main Street because of the parents that are dropping off kids back in the Heritage. Why they're so forward in terms of, this is a new revenue stream that they didn't have as well. And so I think that's an opportunity for both sides. It's a win-win. I think it also should be a win-win for the town to really look at, do I want to abide by the opportunity to now offer, all the restaurants, and I think it'd be a shame for them to leave the town, because where they are today, I think they're not being taken care of by their landlord. I think every investment they've made to date in terms of that place has come out of profits coming out into the restaurant. So I think this is an opportunity for them to basically own a piece of property and invest, obviously, in the future, as well as, I think, offer a great opportunity for residents. So I definitely champion it, and I hopefully you guys will do the same. Great.
Okay, if there is no more further public commentary, back to the board. And if anybody has any final comments, Peter?
I certainly noticed that all of the public dissension that we had last month has gone away. Apparently not important anymore. Well, I think the only other problem I have is the sliding scale of hours. I think that has to go.
Okay. Thank you.
I do, I don't know why I have the times, it's such a big deal, but, when we ask a new business what their hours are gonna be, it's 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are, so you know. You were just saying, not Monday through Thursday, here it says Monday through Thursday, so I guess I'd like to hear that for sure. I agree that it would be nice down there, the parking though, the permanence. I don't know where I am with all that. Wishy-washy.
Judy?
I'm, mixed about, I think we would be very saddened if she left Webster. So that would be that would be awful. But I just think that we drove down there and that road that you're talking about.
The access road?
Right, it's really not a road.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it feels more like a driveway that's sort of tucked away. If there was a way to just make it somehow a little bit wider maybe, where it was actually, I would just worry about winter, people trying to get in and out of there. But I do also feel that with the apartments going in across the street, you are going to probably get a lot of foot traffic. I don't think that everyone will be driving there. So, there's like all these pros and cons. It's just that, that parking situation might, in my mind, that might be an issue.
If I may, does anyone remember when there was a restaurant back there?
Yes?
Sure do.
Oh, in the old railroad building, back in the day?
Yeah, Bojack Yards, and then two other things after
I remember when there was a pickle works there.
Or Loose Caboose was Bojack Yards, right? And there was some kind of Caribbean jerk. Some kind of Caribbean jerk. So,
No.
it has had a restaurant back there before.
I would comment on that access road that you're talking about, because I live in the area and I do a lot of walking. People see me out walking all the time. There's two-way traffic going on that little side road all the time, all 4 seasons, and I've never seen a problem there. Not even getting out onto North Ave with the amount of traffic that we have. So I don't think it's a big issue. I think probably the only thing that you notice is it's not paved like May Street. It's more got a gravel top on it with some paving below. But it does get a lot of use, not only from people going locally, but going back to that toddler workshop in the back.
I believe actually it is cement. That is cement back there.
Is it?
And what would need to happen is over by Precision, those trees need to be cut back. They are growing out of nowhere, and I did see that. So yeah, it needs a little attention. Same with the parking lot. That whole back line, those trees need to be cut so the lights can actually shine on the parking lot. And
What's
you
the
can have an
likelihood
action.
of that happening?
What's that?
What's the likelihood of that happening?
Absolutely it would happen.
But-
We want it to be as nice as possible.
Are they gonna agree to it, these other businesses, or?
Or are you paving that? Are you?
Not paving it, forget that, just cutting back those trees, you can trim trees, that doesn't take much.
No, but do you have the authority to do that? Is that part of this lease that you can do that?
That, on the back parking lot, yes. On the access road, I would have to ask Precision that. But it's just overgrown trees, if you've looked, if anybody's been down there, it's just overgrown.
Probably
Cut
comes
it
down
back.
to ownership and maintenance. Yeah, so,
I have a hard time, you guys, not saying that this would be a perfect place for Maria's to be. There is gonna be a lot of foot traffic there. You got, for what the planning board has devised back there, it's a perfect spot. Now, instead of tucked away in the basement of that old church mall, she can be nestled in the eclectic neighborhood of homes, businesses. You know, like, right, you know, and I think the residents would appreciate having a restaurant easily accessible by walking in.
With decent homemade food, Mexican style.
You know, she would be on display there too. This girl, nobody works as hard as that. If you don't know her story at all, it's like, from birth to 17 is fantastic. Well, no, but 17, she was in the Air Force in El Salvador. The Civil War broke out. She was in like the equivalent of ROTC. So after 6 months of that, the Air Force made them burn their uniforms, and her mom made her leave the country. So she stayed with her cousins in LA, and fate brought her to Rochester, where she's been working in that restaurant since 1981. She knew hi and goodbye in English. She learned the rest from screaming waitresses and soap operas. She has developed a devoted following, you know, whose children's children are now part of it.
I hope you realize that there is no member on this board that does not want to see Maria stay in the Village of Webster. There is no one here, other than a few residents directly on May Street, who may have expressed their concerns regarding additional traffic load that a business such as Maria's would bring to the area. Based upon what is going on in the adjacent area to the proposed venue of Maria's, obviously there is new apartment buildings, there are new townhouse developments. I mean, that area of the Village of Webster is beefing up. It's gonna be nice. Pub 235 is killing it. They're doing a rockin' business. So there is no doubt that this location would not be a great location. But, and of course, there's always the but. The action of this board is obviously to say yes with conditions. And we obviously have to abide by the existing laws that, and recommendations within the laws that we can operate within. And we unfortunately have to keep circling back to the fact that a change of use of this nature, a restaurant-type business, requires a certain set of parameters to be met. If they can't be met, then there are procedures and options that you can then, probe and attempt through variances for parking waivers and stuff. So, as David has already pointed out, probably, and we still are on the stumbling block of this parking situation for the size of the restaurant itself and the non-permanency perceived, even though you can emphatically state that it will be permanent based because we're never going to miss payment. But things happen. So, the best laid intentions, and I want to believe that there will be no hiccups or issues, but until the parking permanency is resolved, this is still where I don't think we're there yet. I could honestly I would love to tell you right now, I would love to make a positive recommendation for a change of use. I'd love to see you walk out of here happy and say, yeah, we're gonna do this. But I don't think we're there yet. We're still not, the i's are not dotted, the t's are not crossed, to a level where the codes can be met or can be varianced away. So,
I have a question for David. I know one of your concerns is the monthly payment, and if something is missed, they can evict them.
Right.
I don't know, I was thinking maybe payment up front.
Well, even then, I guess it's falls to the board to decide what the word permanent means. It's not defined anywhere in our code that I can
right, see,
find.
Right, that's the,
permanency in my mind would almost mean that
you own it.
parking is a part of this lot. You're on the lot, you own the lot, you
No.
control the parking.
Well, it's permanently available off the lot for the parking waiver,
Right.
you know.
So,
Are there other options to that? I mean, because I know that is a
The
great concern
the
too.
option to the parking waiver would be a variance, which would require the zoning board to weigh in. You know, it's like any other variance, like the porch that you handled earlier, this board makes a recommendation to the zoning board. They have the final yea or nay say about it. You know, that's the only, those are the only two options that I can see to make this work, either a parking waiver or a parking variance. Otherwise, you can't, I don't see how you can approve the application.
With a month-to-month payment, you really can't do that, can you?
I don't see how you can have, I would, if you were challenged in court on the permanency issue, I would have serious doubt about our ability to win that case. On the plus side, anyone who wants to challenge a decision of that nature in court has a very limited time to make the challenge.
and we still have, you know, even though we've all talked, it's been talked about that the access driveway is usable, but it's an access driveway. It's not a street. So if you're not part of the easement usage of that access driveway and somebody says, no, we're cutting off access at this point, that forces all the traffic load back onto May Street, which then negatively impacts the residents of that area. So this is a balancing act.
I didn't think that I didn't think that we could be cut off from access to that road. I thought that was an easement that's used by all those. Is that not, did I miss something there? Is that access road not easement for all that area back there?
I can't speak to 34 Main Street, but I can speak to all the businesses that abut.
And the parking lot.
I don't know about the back parking lot. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, so Tyler's Workshop doesn't have access?
Tyler's Workshop owns
Yeah,
the parking lot and
okay,
that
so
road.
if Ron Little told me I can use the access road, I have access to the road.
I would imagine it would be in your lease with that.
So they're not gonna tell me I can't use that road now.
I guess that would be entirely in their discretion if they own it.
Well, if they want me to lease the parking space, they're gonna have to let me use the road.
Not necessarily.
Well, then I'm not gonna lease the parking space, I'm not gonna have it.
Well, you could access the parking from May Street.
Yeah.
What's that?
You could access the parking from May Street.
Yeah, but you can also use the access road.
that would be worked out into the lease agreement, so there's no argument there.
Yeah, and we would have a sign on the end, right by
I
Tyler's
use both
workshop.
roads.
on that
I've
access
been there for 20 years. You loop around, a lot of people come around, they loop around the back, they park in that parking lot and have their lunch. Because I look at them outside of my building. But basically the access is like a road, nobody's on both sides, two-way, and across the back.
I mean, you go to Salvatore's, let's say, and all the lunch hour, for example, all the construction workers and all the guys that do the lawns, you look at that access road and you see it all parked, all the way to the back, because that's the way they can get their trailers, let's say, for that place.
Gentlemen, this is just about the use of,
Yeah,
that's being able to, having legal use, I guess, is really what you're saying, right? Yeah, Heritage Christian has the access road, they're leasing us the parking spaces, he told me we could use that road. And we have to help maintain, keep snow on it. That's part of our deal.
So,
And you did set me the task for a parking lease too. Is there one that you can, draw up that I could use that would satisfy the board?
Well, I can, any lawyer, or Mr. Greisberger, or any lawyer, can put any words on paper that the client wants them to do. That's the easy part. Getting the signatures it can be tricky. I could give you an easement that I would be delighted to recommend to this board, but I suspect that if I could get a signature on an easement that would be permanent under any definition, you would have a hard time getting a signature on it. That I don't know. I don't know what they would do, but I suspect if you're working with an attorney, that if your attorney could have gotten an easement, he would have.
Yes, you are right. Yes, they'd rather lease out their space.
Yeah.
so,
But
Because they don't use them.
okay.
well, it's easy to draft. The signature.
Okay, so, any additional discussion, comments, last minute? All right, so at this point, I know you would like the board to make a recommendation for change of use, but I will ask for that motion within the board, if anyone would make, at this point, a recommendation for change of use, keeping in mind the commentary, and we still have the parking issues technically unresolved. We don't have parking permanence. It still seems to be an unresolved issue. And there may or may not be easement or access issues. So at this point, would anyone on the board be ready or willing to make a recommendation for a change of use based upon facts in front of us for this application? Or do we recommend that additional efforts be made to obtain parking permanency and reapply or reappear before the board at a later date with those considerations, with the board's considerations accounted for?
I'd like to see something go forward. I have no problem with the change of use. No problem with everything else, like you just said.
Whatever David says would solve the problem.
If you can get a signature for permanency?
Mhm.
So, will anyone make a motion at this time? for change of use based upon the questions that are still outstanding before the board.
I guess not.
You not ready?
I didn't say I was opposed, I said today.
Right,
Right.
so,
I feel the same way, I'm not opposed, but not today.
okay. There will be no recommendation made by the board today based upon the still prevailing issues regarding parking and access.
Now, Mr.
Parking
Chairman,
permanency.
just to, as a reminder, the lack of a motion is not a disapproval.
Right.
There is no action taken at this point. If no action is taken on the application within 62 days after the application is complete, and I believe there was a seeker motion done last month.
No, yes.
There's been no seeker motion made? Okay. Before you can approve anything, you have to have a seeker motion. And the application is not complete until the seeker analysis is complete.
Which we have not wrote.
You haven't done yet.
Right.
So you're okay as far as
The 62
having
day
Dean
time limit.
approve it on the 62 days. It took me a long time, but I got to the point.
So in essence, technically, the clock has not started, the 62-day clock has not started for action or inaction for the application until we actually formally go through seeker motion and, okay. So at this point, you are still in technical limbo.
Okay,
And the primary sticking points are the parking permanency.
so now it's not a lease I'm looking for, it's an easement?
I think, in essence, a document or some type of document which gives you parking in perpetuity, or words to that effect.
Resistance.
You getting this, right?
Yeah. Okay, I let him say.
Okay,
Yeah.
parking and somehow to make sure that we have use of that access road? Is that what you, and I heard that?
Well, I think if parking permanency involves, you know, a lease in perpetuity to the owner or whoever has control of the easement, and they say that if the parking is in permanency and the parking is attached to that easement, then those two things would be linked, and you would have, in essence, easement in perpetuity along with the parking. But now I'm no lawyer, I only play one on TV, so.
And
you
any
see-
number of years on a lease is not gonna be good enough.
Yes.
In one sense though, Duke, if you think about it, if you can get it, it really protects the investment.
Absolutely, you will be better off with it if you can negotiate an easement. Your restaurant will be much better protected than under a lease. What do you do 20 years from now when they found some other use for their land and they can't wait to get rid of that parking thing so they can do whatever it is?
20 years from now, we won't have cars.
That's what they said 20 years ago.
Right.
They said that. So,
Okay.
at this point, there will be no action taken under application.
Very well.
Boy.
I mean, from a lawyer perspective, you know, no one's gonna give you a perpetuity. I mean, today, you're signing a lease, you're holding a building to the extent that the owner of the building decides that they're gonna lease to a restaurant, right? That has to go in in relationship to owning that, and leasing it to a restaurant, you have to have, you know, permanency kind of question. You know, they may decide, let's say, that, you know, 10 years from now, let's say they're gonna kind of sell the facility, for example, for
Yeah,
another, and so the last thing you want to have as an owner of a property is a parking lot that
you can't use.
you can't use, or that you can't, you know, now all of a sudden, that you don't need, I'm sorry. And so from that perspective as well, you gotta take into consideration, as long as you have a tight legal, you know, parameter that says you, as long as the restaurant is in that facility, you have that right and obligation to rent or lease that space. I think those should be taken into consideration as well, not a permanency piece. And you said it's right, you now have to define what permanency is. And so I think you need to kind of go back and say, okay, show me further documentation as it relates to permanency. What is defined as permanency? You guys are it appears to me that you guys are making things up as we're moving along.
Well, yeah, because we're making up what the other guy is gonna be willing to sign. If he's willing to sign a lease that goes on forever and ever
Well,
and ever,
right?
well, yeah, I can draft that, but I can't get a signature on it. Go back to that same problem.
Well, can you coincide, can there be language in the lease that coincides with the permanency of the restaurant?
If you can come up with something that we'd be happy to look at it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Again. One more step, right? One more step. We're getting there. Slow process.
So what happens, so now you have to wait till next month?
Yes.
So,
More homework to do.
okay, so there's no other way to move the process along? If this is figured out in the next couple of days, where you submit, can you get, because again, these guys are losing time on getting.
It is not unheard of if a multitude of information and agreements suddenly become available that we could not call a special meeting of the board. Within 2 weeks. I mean, it's all within the realm of possibility. Of course, you're dealing with people's summer schedules, so, and, you know, unless there was a quorum of the board available and to make a recommendation based upon new information, at least you know for the most part that 5 board members will be here in August.
Okay, that's fine. That's good to know.
So,
Thanks.
but, yeah, I mean, if the planets align tomorrow and you said, hey, we got everything we need, we hope, and, you know, the signature and the I's dotted, T's crossed, we could go to the village and secretary and we could align our schedules. It is entirely possible that something could be brought forward.
That's all.
It's not out of the question. It has been done. It can be done.
Okay.
So, okay, at this point, there is no further business in front of the board, so if someone would make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make that a motion.
Thank you, Peter. Do I have a second? Janine seconds that motion. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I need to go up to the